Silent Hill, along with Resident Evil, is one of the series that popularized the survival horror genre and made it into what it is today. It hasn't always been an easy path, with disappointing releases like Homecoming and Downpour, and the downright awful Book of Memories on Vita. But the first two games, and especially Silent Hill 2, are widely considered to be among the best horror games ever made. That was true of Silent Hill 2's original 2001 PlayStation 2 release, and it remains true with the 2024 release of its remake on PlayStation 5. Silent Hill 2 has you play the role of James Sunderland, a man who travels to the town of Silent Hill in search of his wife, Mary, from whom, despite her having been dead for 3 years, he has recently received a letter telling him to meet her there. As he searches the town, he meets a few people with their own inner struggles. Eddie, an obese young man who seems to crave acceptance; Angela, a troubled young woman who is searching for her mother; Laura, a young girl who claims to have known Mary from a time they spent together in the hospital; and Maria, an enigmatic woman who is virtually identical to Mary, but with a very different personality. James also meets a host of monstrous creatures, including the terrifying nurses that the first game introduced, but Silent Hill 2 popularized. Silent Hill 2, like the early Resident Evil games, is a mix of combat and puzzles. The puzzles are definitely the focus here, though, and while most of them are pretty standard, there were a few that really had me scratching my head, and eventually giving up and asking Alexa for the solution. Given what a fantastic story the game tells, I'm glad to see the remake include the ability to customize the difficulty a bit. If you're good at puzzles but struggle with combat, for example, you don't just have easy, medium, and hard to choose from. You can set the combat difficulty to light while having the puzzle difficulty set at high. This kind of approachability is something I would love to see embraced by the entire industry. Those who want games to challenge them should absolutely have that option. But those of us who want to experience the story without the stress of high difficulty after a long day at work shouldn't be left by the roadside either. I've intentionally left my story synopsis pretty minimal, because I don't want to spoil anything in case someone's first introduction to Silent Hill 2 is this remake. This game really exemplifies the term psychological horror. Yeah, the town is full of horrific monstrosities that are trying to kill you at every turn, and the fog outside and darkness inside buildings sets a creepy atmosphere where you don't really know what's around you. But the big draw here is how deep the story's symbolism goes. Who in the game is real, and who is a creation of James's mind? Are the monsters real, or are they just illusory representations of James's sins and mental anguish? There are no clear answers to either of those questions. The game forces you to decide that for yourself. There are also numerous endings depending on what choices you make in the game. I got one of the not-so-good endings with my playthrough, but one of the endings is actually a relatively happy ending, at least in the context of Silent Hill. At the end of the day, Silent Hill 2 isn't about the town of Silent Hill. It's not even about Mary. It's about how and whether or not James confronts his sins and shortcomings. Silent Hill is like an ethically dubious but extremely effective treatment for those who've blinded themselves to the reality of their lives. It calls you to its borders, and it throws your trespasses in your face to accept or be broken by. That's what makes Silent Hill 2 such a renowned and effective psychological horror game. Silent Hill 2 definitely earns the accolade of one of the best horror games of all time, and I put it right up there with Resident Evil 2 and Outlast. This game will make you scream, but it will also make you think and question yourself and what you see as reality. It's a masterpiece of survival horror design, and it is a true must-play for fans of the genre. If you've not played Silent Hill 2 yet, go out and buy the remake immediately. If you don't have a PS5 to play it on, go out and buy one of those. Besides, you only need one kidney anyway. Regardless of how it has to be done, experience this game, preferably via this remake, but the original is still an absolute masterpiece even 24 years later. My rating for Silent Hill 2 on PlayStation 5 and Windows is an S.